everyone. Welcome. This is Roxanne with you, and I just want to say special thank you to all those new subscribers. You're appreciated. All right, so please, guys, go ahead, keep liking, keep sharing, and hit subscribe if you're viewing and you haven't subscribed yet. Today, we're going to be talking about the topic of grief and loss. All right, and grief is actually it's a natural emotional response that's resulting from a significant loss, and particularly the death of a loved one. So, if you're anywhere viewing this and you've experienced, someone dying, it could be a significant person in your life, a close friend, a husband, a wife. It could also be a child. You have experienced the death of a child, parent, or, it could be just anyone in your family that you're experiencing that loss with. And sometimes we tend to overlook persons who have gone through miscarriages. That's a horrible grief to go through as well. So we want to talk about all these forms of losses. And you have losses of a job opportunity, a dream that never happened. You have losses, of some form of income or asset, or property. There's so many losses, a loss of a dear pet, so we want to really touch on all of that, and we want to think and include you in all of these losses, because I want to talk about the process of grief and just the stages of grief. Elizabeth Kubler Ross, she did some significant work on the stages of grief. She did a book on death and dying, and you should go and grab that. And she went through some of the stages. First of all, she spoke about the stage of denial. That's one of the first things that people actually go through when they experience some form of grief or loss. It's like you're in shock mode. You can't believe it happened. It could be something very traumatic as well, like you're losing a loved one through an accident. So it's very, shocking, and it's hard for you for the reality to kick in. So that's a stage that people actually go through. And there's really no prescribed order of the stages. She also speaks about the second stage, which is anger. People are in anger mode. Why did this happen? I can't believe this is happening. Why me? What did I do to deserve an experience in this form of loss? So people are in anger mode. And then you have a bargaining stage. That's the third one she speaks about. So people will do anything. They'll say, oh my God, please, my creator, bring this person back just a minute. I need to tell them something. I need to, say that I love you one last time, or I need to say, forgive me for something that I didn't, that I did, and that's the bargaining stage. And then you have depression. People are low spirited. People are just kind of like down in the blue. They can't, come to terms with what happened. They don't want to eat. They're oversleeping or undersleeping. So, they experience that, painful season of grief and sadness, through depression. So, that's the fourth one. And then fifth stage that she speaks of is that period of acceptance. So people are now beginning to adjust with the reality of that grief or loss. So they're adjusting to life again. They're saying, this happened, and I don't like what happened, but I'm learning to live with it. I'm learning to accept this. And those are some interesting stages, and you might want to relate to a stage that you have been through or what you're going through. I can remember just losing a pet at one point, growing up very I was about maybe 5 or 6, and just losing that pet. I didn't know what was going on in terms of the grief stages, but I remember just feeling very shocked for a while. And then I could remember feeling that sadness, there's that gloom. And then after a while, I was able to come to terms with what happened. And now I'm able to, explain, the stages of grief and what that looked like. And as I grew, I'm able to now connect. And I'm sure you're doing the same as well. And again, I must say that there's no prescribed order. People process grief in different ways. It could be the same person in a family who has passed away, and different persons are going through the stages. One person might be in, depression for a while. Another person could be in denial. They're not accepting it. You could see them just kind of going through the motion. They're speaking as if the person is still alive, and everyone else in the family are like, what's going on with him or her? Why are they still speaking as if that person is still around? And that could be the individual experiencing that stage of denial. The reality has not hit them yet. So there are different stages, and people progress in different ways. And all in all, we want to spend time with grief. We have to process those difficult emotions. It's important to, if you're processing grief, there are some tips that I want to share with you. One, you have to be truthful to your emotions. You have to express, and you can find someone to speak to about this. Connect with a great friend, a family member who, they might be also going through that grief, and you say how you're feeling. It doesn't matter how long, it could be a year or more, but you find yourself still feeling so sad, still wanting the person back just to say a few things. And then you open up, you say how you're feeling. So it's important to, one, stay very true to your emotions, be honest, be open, and speak to the correct or the right individual to do that. And secondly, if you're grieving, it's also important, a way that can help. You could actually write a letter to your loved one who has passed away. Or if you've experienced some form of loss, a loss of maybe property, a job opportunity, or a child who was never born, a miscarriage, you want to write, say something, write a letter. Perhaps you could say, here are some things I've always wanted to say to you, and I never got the opportunity. Here is the name that I had in mind for you, but I never got the opportunity. What that does, it helps you to get those emotions out. So you're writing that out in a letter, and you're kind of, able to, release the tension as you do that. And so if you have to cry, because some persons say, I was one of the last persons to cry, maybe in my family, or when we had that major deal that went down the drain, I was the last person to really cry, and it doesn't really matter, but, stay true to your emotions. If you feel that you have to cry, if you feel that you have to cry for maybe a couple months, it's okay to do that. And sometimes grief gets a little complicated, and that might mean, you're in depression for a while, perhaps for many years. You find yourself still in that depressed mood. So it's important to just get some treatment, get some support, perhaps professional support to help you through, if you're struggling, again, with grief. So it's, that's something that you just have to do. All right. So another way that you could actually try to help yourself in processing grief, you could maintain those traditional activities that your loved one did, or put some meaning to things that that the person who you've lost, they always enjoyed doing. So maybe they enjoyed going to the park, maybe they enjoyed something like gardening, maybe they enjoyed cooking. What you could do is gather persons, friends, and family, and you could do something that really represents that individual. So add some meaning to that. And it's like you're, keeping that memory alive, and you're focusing on just happiness as opposed to pain, the pain of grief. And that's a way to kind of help yourself to work through it in a healthy kind of a way. All right. So, I'd encourage you to do that. And as a matter of fact, David Kessler, he did a little bit more work on the process of grief. And the sixth stage that he came up with is meaning. So it's actually kind of like connecting or adding some meaning. You're moving forward with your life, and you're treasuring the person, that special person who passed away, and you're doing something that's meaningful, just representing that individual. And I think that's a very good way to heal and to just to get through that grief process. Because for the most part, if your loved one left they might have, they might want you to continue to do things that you're doing, work on your career, work on your goals, work on your dreams, stay true to yourself and your family, be the best version of yourself. They want you to do all of those things. So you just want to keep doing that as you process the pain, or just adjusting the external adjustment that needs to take place while you lose that person, because it's really an adjustment and you're learning to live your life with that missing piece. And so it takes time. So we can never overemphasize the importance of time in the process of grief. So sometimes you might feel, oh, I'm so bothered by this. Why doesn't this end? Why is this, feeling going on forever? I want to get through it. I just want to get over this. It's too much. It's too long. But allow yourself, feel that uncomfortable pain, feel that emotion, cry through it, talk through it, write about it. If you have to sing about it, dance when you feel that way as well. Those are some, really healthy ways that you want to engage and process the grief and the loss that you've experienced as well. And sometimes people are troubled with things like guilt. Sometimes it's a relationship that they've never been able to say something that they've always wanted to say. So they're feeling very guilty. So they'll just act out and they'll just do things, just hoping that, there's some way they could feel, that guilt will go away. So another healthy approach is just, journaling those guilty thoughts that you have, and just being able to come to terms with that, forgive yourself, so that you can actually move on with your life, as well. So it's important to try to use some of those approaches as you process and as you try to get through grief and loss as well. So I just want you to take your time, and again, I just want you to ensure that you're trying the best that you can. That's all that's important as you process, your grief, and don't be too hard on yourself. Stay true to yourself and take your time as you go through a difficult transition. So that's where I'm going to end today's wrap. And so I hope that I said something that was helpful for you. So please go ahead and subscribe, like, and share. All right. Have a great one. Speak to you soon.